Hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
I am the sword in the darkness.
And you're listening to Girls Nerd Out.
I am the watcher on the walls.
And now our rewatch has begun.
Dracarys.
Hey everyone, welcome if you're new. And we have a lot of new people we're very excited about. And welcome back. If you are not new, we appreciate you. It is me, Amanda, and my best friend, Andrea.
Hey.
And we're here to talk about Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 5 and 6. Episode 5 is very, very well titled. It is The Wolf and the Lion.
Yeah, I felt it was a very fitting name for the episode for sure.
Yes, The Wolf and the Lion is definitely what's going on for the next little while. And I found it amusing that we open up with dead Jason Lannister.
You know, he had no family in the capital. That was on purpose. That's really sad.
It is sad. And what we're talking about is he's actually Sir Hugh of the Vale.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the poor guy that was set up to poison Jon Arryn, and then he gets murdered to make sure nobody tells the tale.
So, do you blame Ned Stark for his death? Because I don't think he would have died if Ned wasn't asking questions.
I kind of feel like he eventually would have died because he showed his wealth so quickly and it was noticeable. He probably would have been a liability at one point.
True.
You know, like, because he didn't have that kind of money. So he goes out and he buys this armor. And then, you know, eventually people start asking questions. And then he gets drunk in a tavern one night. You know what I mean?
True. He does sound like somebody that would talk. I mean, even though he refused to see the hand of the king last episode or the episode before that, but he's still, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
he was getting cocky.
Yes.
So I kind of feel like down the road, once he ran out of that money, he'd probably be the type that would probably try to blackmail them for more money. So I think he eventually would have died anyway. But I mean,
I know this is like playing the Game of Thrones. I just think the Lannisters are really stupid in these past two episodes. Just because Ned Stark is going to be the hand of the king, he's not an idiot. Yes, I understand that Littlefinger says quick to anger and slow minds, but they're not slow. They're actually really intelligent. So
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, this rewatch has given me a different opinion of Ned. I'm not gonna give him hell as much. And the slow minds that he's talking about, it's not that, you know, anything's wrong. It's that they actually like contemplate things before they act.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
Yeah, and that's why I don't understand why the lion decided to get involved with the wolf, because a bad idea.
Well, this is pre-Tywin. So, you know, it gives the same vibe as Team Green when Otto's not around.
Yeah, they're not very bright without Tywin.
And Team Green makes mistakes without Otto, in my opinion. But,
yes.
I mean, I think it's kind of the same vibe. So until Tywin shows up, they're making decisions and not the best.
Maybe I'm just very biased against the Lannisters. I don't know.
No, you're not biased against the Lannisters. I mean, come on. I'm like, we'll get to it, but I mean, like, it's pretty. I don't know. Like, they talk about the tears of Lys and how, you know, you can't trace it, and then we have Cersei, you know, just getting Robert drunk. It's like, oh, come on, man, or get a faceless man. I don't know.
Well, they can afford it.
Exactly. After we see dead Jason Lannister / Hugh, I thought something was interesting. We got Barristan the Bold, and he's talking to Ned, and Ned is complimenting Barristan and saying, my dad said you were the best he'd ever seen. And then, of course, Barristan is very humble, and he starts to say I'm really sorry about what happened to your father. And then Ned cuts him off. Not rudely, but like just ask him a question really quick. You can tell Ned does not want to talk about what happened to his dad and brother.
No, I mean, I wouldn't either. And it's been, what, 17 years or something like that? So,
Yep.
or a little bit before that, even.
Yep. And Ned has a really good line when kind of at the end of the conversation because Barris is basically saying, that Robert gets what he wants. And Ned says, if the king got what he wanted all the time, we'd still be fighting a damn rebellion.
Yep.
And he's not making a joke when he says that.
And nope, he's not.
Now, this Bobby B in the next scene is the one that amuses me. This is a separate one. The Bobby B that never became king is this guy. But when he's, got power and on a power trip, he's awful. Okay, I just think it's really funny. He's just going into Lancel again.
Poor Lanza.
I mean, like, you just see the next scene, and there's Robert. He's like, your mother was a dumb whore with a fat ass. Did you know that? I'm like, oh my god, man, you really hate the Lannisters, especially Lancel. So, this is the iconic scene of when Robert tells Lancel to go find a breastplate stretcher, which does not exist. There is no breastplate stretcher. We don't know how long Lancel goes and looks for that. But there is a little tiny knowledge drop. We do find out that Jon Arryn was the one that told Robert to marry Cersei.
Yeah, apparently Cersei would be a good match, which, I mean, she would money-wise, but...
Yeah. I kind of got the vibe that Robert resented Jon for that. So I think over time, Robert kind of got over that whole father figure thing.
I also like how, how Robert wants to joust in this scene. And Ned's just like, no, because, I mean, you can hit them, but they're not going to hit you back. Nobody's going to want to risk hurting you. So, he complains about how people bend the knee so quickly. Well, that's why. You've been a king for how long now? They're not going to want to hit you.
So that means he just realized that all these tourneys in the past, when he won, he didn't really win.
Nope.
Oh, well.
And that's why I love when Marjorie talks to Cersei in the book. She doesn't say it in the show, I don't think, but in the books, she tells her, what tournament did Robert win? Please tell me, because I would love to know,
Yeah. That's an interesting one.
And
it's like the only tourney that mattered. And she's referencing like the rebellion and, Rhaegar.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a quick cover up you got there.
Barely won against Rhaegar, but
Barely. Okay, so since you pointed out to me, and it is very obvious, would you like to speak on the tiny tourney?
I just don't understand. So I didn't really pay attention when we watched the hands tournament, but this is different. Like there was nothing there. There was like nobody there. And tournaments in the books are explained as like big crowds, and I'm sure a lot of it's not just because you're going to see people kill each other or almost kill each other, but you're also going to see like there's going to be like probably free drinking all day. So
yeah, and what else do they have to do?
Nothing. So they're just going to sit there and drink and watch people kill each other. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the Knight of the Flowers, who's a very well-known knight and swordsman, and he's wearing very fancy armor going against the Mountain, who is also very popular. You would think more people would come, but there was like 5 people. So I don't know.
The only thing we can figure is a budget. That's it. Because everybody was wearing really nice costumes. So we kind of figured, oh, well, then this is going to be tiny tourney.
I guess all the money went to Joffrey and Daenerys' dragons in the finale.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And all the wine. So Loras Tyrell, who we know, what does his grandmother say? What does she call him? Oh, I can't remember.
What does she call him?
A sword swallower.
Oh,
Yeah. God, I love her. All right, so it's very obvious that Loras is a sword swallower. It's like, okay, that's really shiny armor. But he gives Sansa a rose, and oh my God, she's in
he was.
love.
She's so in love with him. I mean, I would
Mm-hmm.
too. The way he was looking at her.
You know, and he did that very well. And you could tell he's done that a lot.
Yep.
That's his thing. And Loras, he does a very risky trick. He rides a mare that's in heat. So the horse that the mountain is on starts going crazy. And then while that's all like kind of occurring, you pointed out that Renly and Loras don't really hide it very well.
Well, even Littlefinger calls them out too, and I'm like, Jesus. So, like, I guess it would be different if it was a huge crowd, but since there's only a few people, it felt awkward. I was like, I mean, it was a good acting scene and funny, but like, I'm like, they're saying this in front of the king, who's like 2 steps away.
Littlefinger savage.
I only like him in season 1, to be honest. After season 1, he gets really creepy. So just because
Yeah.
Sansa's a child, so you know,
Watch the accent change too. That's amusing.
I never paid attention to that before, but I will now.
Pay attention now. He's British now, and he will become, I believe, Irish, his actual accent, if I'm not mistaken, later.
Interesting.
Well, Dan and Dave, that's one of their favorites. So he got to change his own accent. All right. No, I'm not bitter. What are you talking about? So one thing I did notice, so they have their little joust, and Loras wins because the mountain's horse is going nuts. The mountain cuts his own horse's head off and then goes after Loras. And the hound knows that the mountain's going to kill the Knight of Flowers. So he steps in. Did you notice that Joffrey looked concerned for the hound?
Yeah,
I thought that was real interesting.
it shows that he cares
Because,
about somebody.
yeah. And then you kind of realize early on the hound's like a father figure to him because Robert has nothing to do with him. And then you see, for just a second, you see Joffrey look impressed when you see the hound holding his own against the mountain. He looked proud.
Yeah, he gets into it.
But not in that violent way we see later.
No.
So,
And he looks really good in that outfit.
He does. He looks fantastic. He looks absolutely fantastic. But that just kind of makes me wonder, without Cersei and the lack of anything from his dad, could he have been different? Possibly. Possibly.
The Hound is a really interesting character, so I think he would have been different if the Hound was in his life more.
Everybody loves the Hound.
I don't want it. I never have.
The next scene is Cat, and we got Marillion.
Oh my god.
Okay. The reason I'm laughing is the song that Marillion starts to sing about Tyrion. He just starts singing, "On that eve, the captive imp downwards from his horse did limp. No more would he preen and primp in garb of red and gold." Anyway, do you want to talk about this and what you think?
Well, you know, Kat has taken Tyrion to the Vale, and I like how she was talking loudly about going back to Winterfell and just to discombobulate him. And then she's like, and then he's like, no, we're gonna, so then we're gonna have to deal with, you know, mountain men or did he say hillmen? Hillmen or mountain men?
Yeah,
and then
the Hill clans.
the Hill Clan, Hill Clans, and then the Shadow Cats, but they still get attacked anyway. She's like, you don't have to worry about it. The thing is, she has absolutely no evidence, and she's going to take him to go see Lysa, and he's like, hey, you know, good luck with that because she's changed. And I'm like, oh, has she? Oh, has she? She is not how she used to be. And the fact that she hasn't seen her sister or probably talked to her sister in 5 years is crazy to me.
Yeah, they're not close. Kat has some false sense that Lysa loves her, and over the years, Lysa has turned into a loon.
Also, Kat's kind of an idiot because Tyrion's like, what imbecile would give their assassin their own blade?
I don't know why Kat's doing this. I just don't.
She's stupid in the show. I'm sorry. She just is.
Yeah, and she's real bold too. She just makes her own decisions, doesn't talk to Ned or anybody. She makes more sense in the books, but this is just dumb. Then Tyrion saves her life, and
Uh,
she still continues to go to the Vale.
did you know? I know. And did you notice that he contemplated running too? I bet he wished he would have taken the horse and let her die.
Yeah, but she still takes him to the Vale. Like, really, ma'am?
And
Really?
they don't really specify how long he stays, but I feel like it's been like a few days in
Yeah.
the cells.
I don't understand it, and I got more to say about it later on. Well, actually, no, it goes right into what I want to talk about. The next scene at Winterfell,
Yeah.
we have Bran and one of the only maesters that you like, obviously.
Well, I feel bad for what happens to him. Yes.
We like Maester Lewin.
Yes.
He's fine. We don't have a problem with him. Here's what's really interesting.
Yeah.
So Bran is learning the houses. He's being quizzed, and he says family, duty, honor, which is his mother's house's motto.
Mm-hmm.
And he's angry because his mom left him after he woke up. It's sad.
He has every right to be pissed off.
Yes, I agree. She went on this crazed whatever quest for vengeance, and he is there. And Maester Lewin is very kind and says your mother was at your bedside for 3 weeks, trying to, make some sense and make him feel better. And he's like, family, duty, honor. What's the first one? Family. And I'm like, you wise little thing.
It was one of the few times that I actually felt bad for him. And because this is, pre Three-Eyed Raven Bran. And then I like when the first house they talk about is of course one of my favorite houses, which is the Greyjoys. The Iron Islands. Talk about the Iron Islands. Their Kraken is their sigil, and we don't sow is their words, which they don't ever say in the show. Theon says famed for skills at archery, navigation, and lovemaking, and he laughs. And then Maester Lewin's like, yeah, and failed rebellions.
That's like an ongoing joke about the Greyjoy rebellion and how it was an idiotic plan.
Theon just gets a lot of hate in this first season, and it's funny.
Yeah, it is. It's really funny because it was a stupid rebellion in the show. It was just stupid. Well, I think it's interesting how there's these little nuggets thrown in, and we get one in this short scene because Bran wants to shoot a bow, and he doesn't think he can. And Maester Lewin's like, well, if we get the saddle that Tyrion gave us the plans for, why can't you, shoot a bow from a horse? And then he says, Dothraki boys learn when they're 4 years old. So that gives us an idea of the culture of the Dothraki, and we learn it from Maester Lewin. So I thought that was pretty cool. And also that's known at Winterfell.
I know. I thought that was crazy that he knew that. And, in the books, Cat doesn't like Maester Lewin at all in the book. She calls him a little gray rat.
She talks really nice about him in the beginning because she's talking about how, because Ned's like, why are you talking about this in front of him? And she's like, he birthed my children, Ned. So I don't know. I don't know about Cat.
Jeez.
I just don't.
I don't know. When she calls him a little gray rat, I'm like,
Well, but she's also like naked in front of him, and Ned's like telling her to cover up. This is in the books, by the way. Like, you're just gonna walk around naked in front of the maester? I don't know. I can't get into that. I did find the 4 years old interesting there because, I'm not trying to flex or anything, but I learned to ride a pony at 3. So there's that.
But did you shoot a bow and arrow from the pony?
No. Hell no.
No, I'm just kidding. They beat you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hell no. Not even close. No.
I wouldn't have had balance to ride a pony, so you beat me there.
No, I did not. I got a pony when I was 3, and she was awesome but ornery, and I fell off until I didn't. And I don't even know how many times it was. I just remember that and her really not wanting to go anywhere and like finding low limbs every once in a while and running me into one. It's fine.
That's how I learned to ride a bike because without training wheels, I just rode until I stopped falling.
Well, but did you shoot a bow and arrow off your bike?
No.
Like, nobody's gonna give me or you a bow and arrow. Just know that.
No, I would not be good at that. I
No,
would probably kill somebody.
we're both clumsy. Okay, so next we have Theon banging Roz. Roz is real smart. You can't help but like her, man. You can't help but like her.
He is so jealous of Tyrion. Oh my
Woo!
god.
Well, she's wearing a necklace that Tyrion gave her, and I think Theon seeing that it just pisses him off more and more. And
Yeah.
he starts talking about the Iron Islands again.
You are a ward, if that's what you want to call it, to Ned. Even though, I know that they took very good care of him. It's just like, dude, this is your family. You're not really a Greyjoy.
He brings him up all the time though, because he tells her, "We've been lords of the Iron Islands for 300 years. There's not a family in Westeros that can look down on us." And Roz is like, "What about the Starks?"
Exactly.
Woo! She's smart. She's so smart. I hate her ending, but I like her a lot.
She didn't deserve what happened to her.
No, not at all. So we have a little quick scene where Arya's chasing cats, so we know that's what she's doing. And then it quickly goes to the throne room. This is so interesting to me. It's Varys and Ned. Anytime Varys is in a scene with anybody at this point, it's good. It just is. It makes me really get angry what Varys became, but it's fine. Really quick, Varys asks about Bran, and he says, but his mind is sound. And Ned's like, yeah. It's because Varys knows. Varys knows what Bran saw. And he's trying to ask Ned, oh, is his mind sound? Like, is he going to say anything? That just lets you know how much he knows and where his spies are everywhere.
Yeah, and he says, like some doors close forever, but others open in the most unexpected. He has such the best lines, like the
Yes.
unexpected places. And I like how he says they sing no songs for spiders.
Right there. That's why I said iconic. That line, I mean, I've seen that line a lot. And I mean, even like what he says after that, you are the king's hand and the king is a fool and doomed unless you save him. Like, his dialogue. Ugh.
I'm just thinking of Otto, when he talks to Aegon or when he's talking to Aegon and he says, my son is, or the king is my grandson and my grandson is a fool.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
I mean, same.
Sorry,
Same.
I just love it.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if it's not influenced by that, actually, now that I think of it. So basically, Varys is making sure Ned knows that Jon Arryn was poisoned, and it was because he started asking questions. Because Varys wants Ned to go down that road, and he has set him down that road. He's watched him long enough. He knows he's an honorable guy, so he knows what path he'll take. And the spider is doing his spidering. After that, we go to a scene, and I wish I could insert a picture. I have written in very big letters, dragon skulls.
That was Valerian, but I don't remember the first time watching this show. I've rewatched this a few times, and I don't remember seeing more than one skull before. And then this time watching it, I saw another skull.
Okay, there's more than one skull. These are where the skulls are kept. Later on, they're kept in a bigger area, and it makes more sense. But if you'll notice, it's dark, so the skulls didn't have to be super detailed. I think that's a budget thing. You know, like you could only see like half the skull, and like you couldn't really tell how many there were. It's supposed to be dark, yeah, but that's probably budget. But I really like the fact that it gives you an idea just of how big the dragons were this early on, because you see this enormous skull.
Mm-hmm.
This is a scene that is in the books. This is a very important scene. This is Varys and Illyrio, and they are scheming, basically. And Arya is hiding, so she's hearing this. And so you find out Varys is telling Illyrio that Ned is basically figuring it out. He's already found one bastard child of Robert. He's going to find the rest. And Illyrio's like, well, when he finds the rest, what's he going to do? And you learn that they have everything laid out already, which is insane. Varys is basically saying they're going to go to war because Ned's going to figure out that all the Baratheons have dark hair. And here are these blonde-headed kids. And Illyrio is like, well, what good is war for us now? We're not ready. And Varys is like, this hand is not the other, which true. This is what I thought was so interesting. Illyrio is like, we need time. Khal Drogo will not make his move until his son is born. You know how these savages are. So they've been running the show for quite some time. Now, I did some digging because this is fascinating. Of course, we don't know for fact, but it is thought that they were hoping that Viserys takes the Khalasar over, and then everything is, destroyed and ruined, and that makes it open for Aegon to come in as the savior. But of course, we don't have Aegon in the show, so it doesn't make quite as much sense.
No, so show-wise, it's Daenerys, obviously.
Yes. That's the only thing it could be, because Illyrio is very aware that Viserys is not it. Right after that, it's Littlefinger and Varys. You want to talk about that?
Yes, I just think it's funny that that Littlefinger, like the first thing you notice is him staring at the throne, and I'm like, why the frick do they just stare at the throne? It's so odd to me. So they're having a conversation about the fact that each of them have a bunch of spies and they know what each other is doing. And Varys talks about how I've seen you and I've seen you with the hand, and you were, I think that was when they were out walking around in the yards, right?
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago, it felt like, in the show.
He knew about Varys going to see Ned when he tells him about the Tears of Lys. Like he even knew that.
Yeah, he knew that, and he knew that he saw Illyrio.
Yeah.
And he's like, it makes sense that you would have friends across the Narrow Sea, but because he's from across the Narrow Sea. But it's just it's like crazy how he knew all that. Like, and then when you were just talking about that scene, it's funny that they talk so loudly down there because there's so many people down there.
Yeah, somebody could be hiding. Well, and then Renly comes in, and so I mean, it's not like it's a closed off area. So,
and the throne room is echoey.
Yes,
and they're talking very loudly there too. So I'm like, you people are really loud for no reason.
For no reason, but this is the beginning of the jokes about Varys's balls. It gets very tiring.
Oh, well, apparently, Baelish has a lot of people that come to his establishment that has very interesting taste in things like cadavers and children. I don't really want to talk about that because that's gross. No. It's sad. But like finding out the Lord Redwine has a thing for little boys. I don't remember that in the books. I mean, he doesn't have a point of view or anything, but Lord Redwine is talked about a lot, like because he's got a fleet and everything, and he helps out the Hightowers, or not Hightowers, Highgarden. He helps out Highgarden. So I'm like, wait, since when does he have a thing for little boys?
Well, I think the purpose of that is we are looking at two spy masters,
Yeah.
and you realize one's a lot darker than the other.
He wouldn't admit to it though, but it was bothering him that he knew about that.
Yeah, because he didn't deny any of it at
Oh no.
all. And it's dark. So Renly comes in and says Robert's coming to the small council meeting, which is a rarity. And we'll get into that in a minute. It really quickly cuts to Arya. She's gotten out of the Red Keep. She's dirty. And I'm pretty sure this whole scene is just to kind of show us that King's Landing is not in a good way. Like, Andrea likes to bring up how in debt the crown is. And it gives us a couple minutes seeing it's dirty. It's not great. And also they're not very nice to her.
No.
At all. And just say awful things to her until she's like, oh, by the way, you know who I am. This always gets me. We see Arya talk to her dad, and she tries so hard to explain to him what she heard Varys and Illyrio say. That's heartbreaking because, when you're that age, you only hear like pieces and can remember only so much.
Yeah. I felt bad for her there because he wasn't really listening.
Because she couldn't get it right. She was just like something about savages and killing you and the hand. And like, Ned's got a lot on his mind, but she really did try. And it was just one of those scenes where it's kind of heartbreaking.
Dracarys.
So then we get Yoren from the Night's Watch. So he's there to get people for the Night's Watch, but he's also there to tell Ned, your wife, she's taken the imp.
Yeah, I would hate to be Ned because, like, you didn't give the order to do that. You are the Lord of Winterfell. You are the Warden of the North. You are the hand of the king, and your wife is acting like you don't exist.
And people want to know why I'm not cool with House Tully. I told you I wanted to talk about this. Robert Baratheon at the small council meeting. Why is he there? Because the whore is pregnant. Ned says, you're speaking of murdering a child. And they are speaking of Daenerys. And I told Andrea that I wanted to bring up something that is very obvious. So, she's a child. And Robert calls her a whore more than once. And it very much reminded me of what is said about Rhaenyra, someone else that's a Targaryen that has a claim. And I find it incredibly interesting that whore seems to be what they like to say. Daenerys is called a whore quite often in the books. And let's see, she was sold into slavery, which Andrea pointed out to me on the phone. Okay, so yeah, sold into slavery, had no choice with that one. Yes, we like Drogo, but still sold. Then we have Dario. Then we have Hizdahr, which she married for peace. And we have Jon in the show. That's four. That's four people. How skanky. And how many with Rhaenyra? Is it a dozen? I don't think so.
No, she didn't have a dozen. She only had 3 or 4.
Oh, wow. What a parallel. It's just gross. It's like Robert can talk about, like, banging chicks in all the kingdoms and stuff, but, like, calls Daenerys a whore. Like, it's just gross. Ugh.
Well, the thing about that scene, yes, that really angers me that he calls her that. But the thing about that scene is that Ned stands down. Like, he's like, no, we're not doing this. We don't even know if she's pregnant. Oh, we're going to believe Jorah? We're going to believe Jorah, who is a traitor. He is a slaver.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to believe that. We're going to believe that when we don't even know if she's really pregnant. They don't even have real proof besides Jorah.
Look, I'm really glad we're doing this rewatch because I forgot how many times Ned tries to save Daenerys' life. And this is when we get the Bobby B sound that is played on TikTok constantly. And if he's right, and if she has a son, a Targaryen at the head of a Dothraki army, what then? I mean, it's a cool line, and yeah, she does do that. But Ned is just sitting there thinking, like, you just want to kill a child. You're worried about that. And he actually resigns his hand over it. It's crazy.
Well, and the whole council's like, yeah, kill her.
Yes,
Like,
everyone there says kill her. And now, of course, now Varys says it and doesn't mean it, but
no, Renly says it, and he says we should have killed them both years ago. And I'm
Yep.
like, what the hell? This is. I understand Viserys. Viserys deserves every sort of level of hate, but Daenerys, you don't even know her. Like, sit in a room with her for 5 minutes. Like, seriously. Like, it's just crazy to me. And you know, when Ned's walking off, he like takes off his handpin because he's like, I'm not going to follow you. And he's walking off. And I don't understand this. Robert's like, because he's like, there's no honor. You have no more honor in you. Like you did before. Now you don't. And Robert's just like, honor. This is war. What are you talking about, honor? And I'm like, what war? Like you tell Cersei at some point that you haven't had a real fight in 9 years. 9. So what war are you in currently? Nothing. If you kill Daenerys Targaryen, there will be a war. But yeah.
Have you ever seen two kids and one wants to play one game and one wants to play another?
This is them.
Yes. Yes. Bobby B is a child. Ned wants no part in killing Daenerys, especially since the news came from Jorah. That makes it even more ick to him. And that is Robert throwing a fit, throwing a hissy fit, saying all kinds of stuff. Because we find out later that he continued to talk crap about Ned like the whole meeting. So,
you know, I've said this before. Him and Joffrey are the only ones that worry about Daenerys.
it's very interesting that, and you point that out, and I'm so glad you do because, yeah, that's the only two. So we get a couple little quick scenes. One is Ned talks to Littlefinger, and Littlefinger convinces him to stay when Ned should have left.
Honestly, I love him, but he trusts so easily. Like, I get
know.
that. I understand that Littlefinger, see, in the books, Catelyn is very wary of Littlefinger, and in the show, she's not. She put all her trust in him, and so obviously Ned is going to put all his trust in him, and this was all planned. Like,
Yes.
it was obvious because, oh, I'm going to go get the City Watch. No, you're not, because the City Watch never showed up. But yeah, anyway.
But it made him look good for saying it. Yep. And then we get a quick little scene that's basically to show us how batshit crazy Liza is because her son, how old is he?
Like, what, 10, 9?
Yeah. He's somewhere between the ages of 8 and 10. And we get to see him breastfeeding, which I'm quite certain that was a fake boob. There's no way in hell they would have done that. But still,
I wouldn't let my son do that on TV. I don't care how much he's getting paid.
No, that'd be a freaking lawsuit. But it looks real enough to make you want to throw up. So the scene is basically just to show you that Liza Aaron is batshit crazy and she's breastfeeding her 10-year-old son. Okay. Good job, Kat. Next scene, we have Renly and Loras is shaving Renly. And I don't know why we needed to see Loras shave Renly's nipple. I'm just not sure.
Well, and I like that he wants to make him bald everywhere.
Yeah.
But
why?
The only thing. Oh, go ahead.
Why? Why is he shaving him?
He just likes that. But the thing is, the only thing I liked about that scene, I don't think we really needed it, but the only thing I really liked about that scene is that Renly is talking to him about about the king situation, like him wanting to be king. And then, the whole, like, he's fourth in line, he can't be king. And, he does stick up for Stannis. And, and I like that, this isn't my favorite part, but I do like that Laura says that Stannis has a personality of a lobster. And I'm like, oh, poor Stannis.
Damn.
But
I mean,
He kind of does, but I like Stannis sometimes in the show. It's like a hate-love relationship for him, but
Yeah, but we both know that if Stannis was on the throne, the kingdom would not be in debt and it would be safe. We know that.
hey, I always said Ned should have left a long time ago, and then once he found out that those kids were illegitimate, he should have left for Winterfell when he said he was going to leave, and then send all of the ravens after that, and then that way that gives Stannis enough time to create an army, and then after Robert's dead, yeah,
Yep.
and then he would take the throne. He should have taken the throne.
Yep. And Stannis would have cleaned everything up. I mean, like the lobster or not, the lobster is gonna make everything fair and unbiased, and that's what you need. And that's why a lot of people like Stannis. Stannis equals stability.
Yes, and see, I understand.
Well, and we don't get as much, obviously, in the show, but I mean, Stannis, he starved and made sure that his people ate, because he does have a heart. It's not really shown very much in the show, and then the whole Shireen thing.
Yeah.
In the books, you get more. So, and Andrea and I both think that that will happen to Shireen, but Stannis isn't going to be there. He's not going to have any part in it.
It's going to be the mom.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to say my favorite part of that scene, because again, I didn't think we really needed it, is Loras, because Renly is telling him that he has a gift with his sword fighting, and Loras says it's not a gift. He worked really hard on it. He's worked ever since he had could hold a stick in his hand. That is how hard he worked at being a fighter, and I love that. That makes me so happy, and the fact that we barely ever got to really see him fight just pisses me off.
You know what else I really like about that scene that I didn't appreciate before?
What?
Loras is talking like Marjorie. That is exactly how Marjorie is. Like, doing the sweet manipulation is perfect. I wish Loras was like this more. I wish we saw more of this. Like, just kind of, making people do what you want in a gentle way, but you're turning this person, you're giving this person this idea. And we see Marjorie try to do that with Renly, and then we see her do it with Joffrey, and it just lets you know what? They are quite a bit alike.
They're a better match than Cersei and Jaime.
Yes. And way more similar with just how intelligent they are politically. Then Loras isn't really given credit for that because we don't see it. This is like the one time. It's like, oh, that's very Marjorie of you, Loras, so good for you. Next scene.
The famous Cersei and Robert Baratheon scene.
This is one of the scenes. This is not in the book. There is no scene like this in the book. And a lot of people say that this scene is one of the best show-only scenes that was created. So much that they wish it was in the book. And I'm not going to disagree. I'm not. This scene is great. It really is. The writing is fantastic. The acting is.
Cersei comes in and she's telling him, like, hey, sorry your marriage didn't work out with Ned. I laughed. And I wonder how she didn't laugh while she did that. But I'm sure she did. I'm sure there was like, it's really funny. And she goes and talks about how he's like, well, what do you want me to name your? Because Ned left, so he's like, what, you want me to name Jaime? And she's like, no, Jaime's not serious enough.
Yeah. The
fact that she said that.
Well, and she knows it for a fact because she even said, like, you should be hand, and he's just like, I don't want to do that. So she's being honest. She's being honest.
She is. I felt like this was the most honest scene between these two, or between Cersei and anybody, to be honest, because she's just, it's just such a real scene. Do
you know what I consider this scene?
What?
I consider this scene the last bit of humanity leaving Cersei. Except for her children, obviously. This, to me, this is Cersei's last try at trying to do something decent with Robert.
Well, yeah, because he actually talks to her about like Daenerys a little bit, not really Daenerys, but the
Yeah.
Dothraki, saying that, only a fool would meet the Dothraki on an open field. So if we hold up in our castles, we'll be fine. But what about the rest of the realm? Like, he actually sounded like he cared about the realm there, which was
Yep.
interesting. And then he's like, I wonder how, because like our purpose died with the Mad King. So, and I thought that was interesting to say that.
I wanted to ask you about that. So does that mean, like, is purpose like dynasty?
Yeah.
I guess. But like he admitted, our purpose died with the Mad King.
Those are some real words there.
And like nobody can hear him but Cersei. So you do know you're not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be Rhaegar. That's all I'm
I
saying.
honestly think Rhaegar had many plans, and
He
his
did.
only plan wasn't just to get rid of his dad. Like, it
And he
was
wasn't going to kill his dad. We know that. He was going to
no.
put him somewhere.
He was probably gonna, yeah, like, well, not Summerhall, but he'd probably put him somewhere.
Yes.
And then he's like, I wonder how this all held together. And she says, our marriage, and they just laugh because their marriage is just really depressing.
I mean, it's a great scene. It's a
And
wonderful scene.
and right after that, she asks, what did she look like? What was she like? I mean, sorry, what was she like? And she means Lyanna. He's like, you've never asked about her. She's never asked about her because she never wanted him to think that she cared. But clearly she did. And he's like, I can't even remember what she looked like.
First of all, I would have done the same as Cersei. She explains it well. She says, I first didn't bring her up because it felt like breathing life back into her.
Yeah.
Relatable. That's relatable. You know? Like feeling like the ghost is around all the time. You don't want to talk about her because, then after that, she did it out of spite. Relatable. Like she's lived in the shadow of Lyanna the entire time, and she admits she had feelings for Robert for quite some time. But he just couldn't get over it.
He went to war for somebody he doesn't even remember.
Someone took her away from me, and 7 kingdoms couldn't fill the hole she left behind.
And there was nothing ever between him and Cersei.
Like, he never gave that a chance at all.
Nope. And when she says that, because he asks, how does that make you feel? And she says it doesn't make her feel anything. I that's a huge lie. That's like the biggest lie she's ever told, because that made her feel something.
Look,
that cut
she
deep.
looks him in the eye and says, was there ever a time, ever a chance for us? And he just says, no. That's cruel, Andrea. That is mean. Like, why would anybody even say that? She's trying at this point. They're laughing. That's the point when you say, probably if I hadn't been such a damned idiot. And you're at least, as far as he knows, that's the mother of his children. Jesus Christ, Robert. Talk about obsessed and just, I don't know. That was just savage to say to her, and you're right. She says that she's just, ambivalent, but she's not. Who
No.
would be? Who
That's
would
why I
be?
say Lena Headey deserves a lot of awards for that scene, because you could tell it did bother her, even though she didn't say anything. It
I
bothered
know.
me, and I'm not a huge Cersei fan, so it's sad.
It bothered me too. I forgot that scene hit that hard. I'll be honest with you. That no. I mean, like, somebody kind would have just said, maybe. if, things were different or just something. It softened the blow. Jesus.
Yeah, he doesn't remember what the woman looked like. Like,
He never knew her.
Rhaegar would have remembered.
Rhaegar would have painted what she looked like.
Yes.
Just saying. Justice for Rhaegar.
Oh, we get to see Ned with the Bobby B's daughter.
Yeah.
Illegitimate daughter.
Yeah. And do you know what I noticed? I don't know if this is intentional. Probably not.
What?
The young girl that he's had this daughter with, I feel like she kind of looked like Lyanna a little bit.
I said that too. I have that in my notes. I'm like, she kind of looks like Lyanna.
This is why you're my best friend. So he might vaguely know what Lyanna looked like, and it looks like he's going around trying to find women that remind him of her. So,
But what I liked about it is that it shows that he does care about other people, like his other kids. And, it's interesting. Ned said she'll never live without. And I'm like, oh, well, when Joffrey's king, he kills them all.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, though, all of the illegitimate children that Robert had, I don't think Robert was helping those kids. I think it was Jon Arryn.
Yes.
And I think Ned was going to just pick up where Jon left off, basically.
Yeah,
which is sad.
Because Jon Arryn asked if they were healthy and all that stuff. That's it.
Yep.
Like, he does seem to care.
He wanted, that's the first things that he asked. Oh God, what's his name? I blanked out. What's his son's name?
Who? Jon Arryn?
No, the Robert son.
Gendry?
Yeah, I forgot Gendry's name. That's my brain. That's the first thing that Gendry says that Jon asked him. Are you okay? Are you happy? Are you healthy? And Robert's not going around tracking them down. That's Jon Arryn, and Ned was going to do the same thing. It's very sad.
Baelish is in that scene, and Ned asks how many bastard kids Robert has, and Baelish says more than you.
Somebody's still bitter. Somebody's real bitter. Well, I mean, from his point of view, I mean, he wanted to marry Kat, and Brandon cut him up, and now here's Ned. So
I need something with Brandon, just because Kat seemed to really be into him, and I want to know what he looks like.
Andrea, come on. Brandon Stark is the closest Stark to Daemon Targaryen. That's why you want it.
Yes.
The way he's described in the books is like Daemon. He took what he wanted. He has a cool walk. Please.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, yeah, there's some Starks that we like, but there's only one Stark that you would ever have a fictional crush on, and that is Brandon.
Oh, except for Alaric Stark. I have a crush on him too. So too.
I think Brandon would beat it though.
Yeah.
I really do. Cuz we can't even really talk about what is said about him in the books, but let's just say he was a confident man.
He was well equipped.
He made someone very happy. Look, if y'all haven't read the books, at least listen to the audiobooks. Yes. There's a lot. It's real good. It's just really good.
I don't want it. I never have.
Okay, so we're getting to the end of the episode, and Ned walks out of Littlefinger's brothel, and there is Jaime Fucking Lannister with some of his, I guess, what would that be? Just the Lannister hosts, just the regular ones, I guess, that just hang out.
Like just a few good men, I guess, because when they go to the Vale with Tyrion and I didn't say that, did I?
Say it now.
Okay, so you know when Tyrion and them are going to the Vale, before they actually go in there, Tyrion says that the Vale, the Eyrie is impregnable, and Sir Bronn says, "Give me 10 good men and some climbing spikes, and I'll impregnate the bitch." I really love that line. I don't like Sir Bronn, but I really like that line, and so like I feel like Jaime is like one of those people that just takes a few good men and he can handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, he probably just grabbed, about 10, 12 guys and said, we're going to go kick some ass. Well, this is something that I thought about, which again, I'm glad we're doing a rewatch. So, from Jaime's point of view, his brother was kidnapped because of something Jaime did. So there's guilt to that, right?
Yeah.
And then he knows his brother is disabled. His brother can't fight. His brother is no match to a whole bunch of, soldiers. So from Jaime's point of view, I understand why he's so damn angry. And he feels guilty.
But I also think he really loves his brother. Like you can tell the love between Jaime and Tyrion throughout the whole thing, actually, like the whole seasons.
That's why Jaime's angry enough to say kill all of Ned's men, because he loves his brother and he knows his brother is at a disadvantage. Like, it's not showed so much in the show, but in the books, when you get Tyrion's point of view, he's constantly in pain. Constantly. Just regular pain from walking. If he's been on a horse for an extended period of time, he can barely walk when he gets off the horse. Like, it's a lot. And Jaime loves Tyrion, and Tyrion worships Jaime. And this scene kind of just makes it look like here's Jaime the asshole, but you have to remember he's very worried about his brother.
Oh yeah.
So it's really sad. All of Ned's people are killed, and one of the Lannister soldiers stabs Ned in the leg from behind. What did you think about what Jaime does?
He knocks him out.
He didn't like that.
No.
He didn't like dirty fighting at all. He was pissed because it was Ned and Jaime fighting, and Jaime was gonna win. But then this guy thinks he's doing something and stabs him from the back. And Jaime was like,
Yeah,
So,
Jaime was gonna win, but Ned was doing pretty good for his age.
Hell yeah, he was. Yes, no doubt. But like, it's just Jaime's younger, and he fights regularly.
Yep. True.
Like Ned, he held it. He held his own very well. But I mean, he's Warden of the North.
And this scene should have proven to Ned that there was no City Watch. So should have proven that Baelish is just a horrible person. But whatever.
Absolutely
whatever.
Horrible.
Should have went with Renly. Sorry.
And I would just like to add, Daenerys is so iconic. She doesn't even have to be in this episode. Just saying.
Hey, there was no Jon Snow either. That was sad. I was like, no Dany, no Jon, whatever.
Well, she's brought up enough. It's like she's there anyway.
Jon was brought up once.
She was brought up several times. Main character energy.
Yeah, well, yes, I was sad that she wasn't in there, but I was also sad that Jon wasn't in there.
Episode 6. Golden Crown.
My favorite episode of the entire season.
I mean, it starts off great. Go ahead.
Okay, well, Ned wakes up and he's wounded really badly, and the first person he sees is Cersei. That can't be good. I noticed for the first time ever, even though I've seen this scene several times, is that Ned and Cersei have such good chemistry. It's like it's insane how much chemistry they have.
It's interesting.
It was kind of. I wonder if anybody wrote fan fiction after this because it was kind of hot.
Oh yeah, they did. They did.
Well, apparently, Lord Stark came out drunk, and his men attacked Jaime. And that is Cersei's story. And I'm like, seriously, that's worse than Arya and Micah taking clubs to Joffrey. Come on. You need
Yeah.
to come up with better lies. And this was the
Yeah.
episode where I was like, Lannisters are really stupid.
I get what she's doing.
Yeah, but does Ned Stark sound like somebody that would get drunk and beat, have his men attack Jaime? I mean, Jaime is not this victim.
No, she's just trying to come up with a story. And there's a lot going on, and I guess that's just it. That's what she came up with.
It's a great opening to this episode, though. I love it.
It is.
Well, let's see. Robert is not a fan of her in this scene, which is really sad because of after the conversation that they had, like previously. It's like, okay, we're getting somewhere, and now they're back to where they started. So she doesn't like how he's handling the situation, and she says, I should wear the armor and you the gown, and he hits her
Hard.
very hard. And I like how she says, I should wear this like a badge of honor. I love that. And you know what's interesting is that Ned watches this, and I wonder if the way that she acts after that, because I never really got it from that. I'm just assuming this is what happens, is she's trying to give in to his sympathy because he's such a good old Ned,
Well, when they sit down and have that talk, I mean, he asks, does this happen a lot?
True.
He's appalled. You know, another reason he's appalled? That slap would have been his sister.
Yep.
That's a whole nother level of why Ned is disgusted. Completely disgusted.
And nobody noticed, and I don't know how many people have read the books that listen to us, but Lyanna it was just a prize to be won. She wasn't anything to Robert. I mean, yeah, he may have said he loved her and he may have fought a war for her, but after he got what he wanted, she would just be like Cersei.
You know what? She would either be bitter like Cersei, or she would end up like Helena, like neglected in her own world.
And I don't know which is better, to be honest.
Neither. And then what irritates me is he looks at Ned and he goes, see what she does to me, my loving wife. Wow.
Ooh.
Okay. Then Robert admits he never loved his brothers.
And that's sad.
As hell, because Renly, in the books, Robert is closer to Renly than Stannis. In the show, Robert says, you were the brother I chose to Ned. And so he has no love for either one.
No wonder Stannis goes to Dragonstone. I wouldn't be around somebody that doesn't love me.
Well, that's the thing in the books is Robert gives Storm's End to Renly, and he gives Stannis Dragonstone to try to, not look like a complete asshole. But it's a slap in the face, no pun intended, to Stannis. And that really makes it worse. Because, I mean, they try to make it sound like, well, yeah, you're next in line. So, Dragonstone, and Stannis is like, no, I should have Storm's End. So.
He should have Storm's End. It would make more sense.
Yep.
But it is what it is.
It is. So.
Oh, I like how he said, I don't know what happened to you and those yellow-haired shits.
Jesus Christ.
We get to see Daenerys.
Oh, I want to ask you something real quick.
Yes, sorry.
You know how Robert makes comments about, yellowed haired and all that about the Lannisters? Do you think he hates that hair because it's not white like Targaryens, but it's close?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
I thought so too.
Makes it make sense why he was never really there for his kids.
Okay, that was my next point. Can you imagine hating a family so much that a family that resembles them in one way, God, there's a lot there. We finally see Daenerys. She is in her tent, and she is holding Drogon's egg, and she looks beautiful.
Yes.
So she almost looks like she's a little bit in a dream-like state. She goes over to very, very hot coals and she places the egg there and then watches it. And she just has this look on her face like she's hearing things. And it's like she feels the egg needs heat, warmth. So she's already having dreams and visions about the
Yep.
eggs and fire. So after she lets Drogon's egg sit there for a little bit, she picks the egg up right when Eerie comes in. And she is so worried Daenerys is going to hurt herself, she grabs the egg. And she's like, Khaleesi. And she looks. Daenerys' hands are fine. And then Daenerys, she's still kind of spaced out. She's like, oh no, you're hurt because Eerie's hands are badly burnt. She is not like this in the book. She's not fireproof. That was a one-time thing that happens. Do I like this in the show? Yeah, it's cool. I don't mind it at all. I don't mind that change because we don't see Daenerys's dreams in the show. So to give us an idea that there's something going on, we get scenes like this, and I don't have a problem with it.
No, I don't either. I mean, when she's with the big Dothraki horde, I like that scene, and I also have issues with it because I'm thinking in the books it's going to be Drogon that's going to end up burning them.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping would happen, but it's fine. It still was a cool scene.
Yeah. So I don't mind this. I like it because you see that basically her eyes are just kind of glossy. It's like she's living a dream that she had.
Yeah.
And so that just gives you an idea something's going on. So I like that scene very much because she's wearing just this tan outfit and it's plain, but she still looks just completely beautiful. It's nothing that would it doesn't add color to her or anything, and she just looks gorgeous. Oh yeah, it's the three-eyed crow again. Go ahead.
You know, the dream is so weird compared to the books because it's more detailed and the crow actually talks to him. But in the show, oops, are you still there?
Yeah,
I don't know
I'm
what
here.
happened. Okay. So in the show, the crow doesn't even, I mean, it's talking to him, but you don't hear what it's saying. And then it's leading him to the crypts for whatever reason. But the scene right after that, he's woken up because Hodor has his saddle, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And we get to see Bran on a saddle, and he's riding around, and that was fun. I really like that scene.
Yeah, because he's happy.
He's happy, and this is like one of his last major happiness.
Yeah.
The scene is really sad, though, because Theon is talking to Rob, and I can't remember exactly how the conversation goes, but Theon, I guess, is overstepping, and Rob's just like, this isn't your house. This isn't, like, we're not your family. Kind of like, you're not part of this family, even though he's been with them for how many years? Just like Jon, you know?
Look, Theon wants to go to war. It's very show Greyjoy, and he's trying to push Rob into war. And finally, Rob has to be like, you're not the Lord of Winterfell, dude. Let it go. Theon is just trying to, like, get Rob riled up. I mean, that's what he's doing.
And I get why he wants war, because, like, that's their, it's Theon's dad, too. And, I mean, at some point, Theon says, Ned was his father, and, like, my only father died in King's Landing. He says that.
Okay, I had a thought about this scene. I just wanted to, like, ask you. I mean, it's kind of off the wall. I made a note. Theon takes action, but too quickly. Rob hesitates, but he hesitates too long. Okay? It very much gives me a Viserys and Daemon vibe right there. Like, let's go do something. Well, we need to think about it. One's too quick and one's too slow. But if you ever have the two working together, what do you get? Perfection.
Yes.
I've always thought that that's something that George likes to do. Likes to have two that are from, completely different ends. And you can see if they work together, it would really be good. And sometimes the tragedy is that they never realize that.
Yes, I agree with this 100%.
Dracarys.
Yeah.
Wildling time. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, so they apparently have no care for, because they're leaving. They're trying to go as south can go. Like, there's no White Walkers in Dorne. Which I'm like, how do you know about Dorne? Do they have maps beyond the wall? I mean, I'm assuming they do, but that's crazy to me. I'm like, do you know what direction you're going? You're going to be taking a long time. So they don't seem to like Mance Rayder. They don't seem to like anything. They just want to get far away as possible. And that's very interesting because Mance is supposed to be very much loved beyond the wall. And,
Yeah.
well, they're going to mess with this kid on a horse, which is Bran, because, they just want to take him. I don't know why they have to attack him. They could have just left him alone. He obviously can't move. He can't run. He can't do anything to them. And then Asha is one of them. I love her. She says this is of Benjen Stark's blood.
She picks up on that quick.
Yes. And that shows you that Benjen Stark has dealt with the wildlings he's probably got a name for himself. Well, he is First Ranger, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
And she's smart.
Yes. And then so they threaten Bran, and Rob comes in and tries to help. And then Theon saves the day because I can't remember the guys. We don't even know his name, but the guy that has Bran up to his, with dagger against his throat, Theon kills him. And I was happy that Theon cares enough still to save the day,
Which means he hung back. He didn't just leave.
That shows character development, I think. Good character development, even if he is kind of a shit in the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, also they're kids.
Yes.
I mean, we have to remember that. But that shows Theon was looking for Bran. He acts like he's going to walk off and just go back, but no, he didn't.
And Rob is like, you shouldn't have done that. Like, you could have missed or whatever. And he's like, what? Really, you're gonna really put him down for how he did it? I mean, he knows how to shoot a bow and arrow. So
again, it just reminds me of Viserys and Daemon. It really does.
You're true. You're right.
And I can't help but think. I mean, the same man wrote both, so I think it's one of those cautionary tales. So because he loves to do that, and it's really interesting. So we get a brief scene. Tyrion almost rolls off the sky cell. I don't know how he fell asleep at all.
Oh, I was wondering the same thing because not only is it wide open, but like that ground does not look comfortable at all.
No, I mean, there's no way I would be able to sleep. No way. So the point of that scene is to show that he is in an incredibly scary place, and he is trying to call the jailer, whose name is Mord, and he's beginning to try to bribe him, and it's not working quite yet. The next scene is Syrio Forel and Arya, and I had a feeling that you found this scene interesting because of what Syrio says. There is only one God, and his name is Death.
I love that so much.
Yeah, but is Syrio a faceless man?
Well, isn't that a theory? Is that a theory that he is?
That's a big theory.
I think he is.
Why is he there? Why does he say that? Just saying.
Is it? Well, it wouldn't be to recruit anyone, so why is he teaching Arya?
Is that Jaqen?
Sir Jaqen is the drowned god. I mean, he's everywhere.
It's there. I'm just throwing out theories.
I know, no, I
Theories,
know.
theories, theories.
He's everywhere.
Some people, well, I mean, everybody's Rhaegar, everybody's Jack and Hagar, everybody is Quaithe, um, everybody's a secret Targaryen, obviously.
Everybody is Shiera Seastar too, I guess.
Yes, everyone's Shiera Seastar.
I think she's still alive somewhere.
Yeah, and she's Alice Rivers.
Yeah.
That one kills me. But
Oh man. Well, I mean, we don't really know what happens to her, so
yeah, I mean, obviously, and everyone's Euron. So next we have Daenerys eating the stallion's heart.
can I just say really quick that there is sexual tension between her eating that heart and Khal Drogo. It is like it, it I don't know how she could have stood there and ate that heart while he was looking at her like that, because oh my god.
It is
Jason
known.
Momoa has the sexiest eyes. Like he just anyway.
Well, one reason that you're feeling that is because when they filmed that scene, he was there doing that, rooting for her. That heart is made of disgusting gelatin and it was gross. It was very difficult for her to eat. And it did gag her and make her throw up.
Yeah, but I shouldn't feel these sexy feelings when.
No, you should. Okay, he's proud of her. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's intentional. That's totally their eyes are locked.
I
It's
know.
like
I
no
love.
one else is there.
Yes, no,
Completely.
nobody else is in the room. Nobody. It's insane.
Also though, they could have made it sweet and made it at least edible for Amelia.
I know. I don't know why they had to make her eat. Because she could act out that it was gross or something. She didn't have to eat something that was gross.
Exactly. Just saying. So Jorah is impressed. Very impressed. Now I will say this. In the books, she does practice for this. She practices eating, some raw meat and then, things with like blood and stuff. So, just a little side note.
Ugh.
You can't go from just jerky to stallion heart. She does, which is smart. She does, try to get used to it before this.
And Viserys is like, he won't, because they're talking about so they have that, forget what that lady is, that talks about what's going on, saying that she's pregnant with a stallion who mounts the world, and Viserys is just like, he won't be a true dragon. And I'm just sitting here like, poor Jon, just because he's not full Targaryen.
Well, that is the Dosh Khaleen. And everyone's listening. And she says the prince is riding. His enemies will cower before him. And Jorah says she's going to have a boy. And Viserys bitterly says he won't be a real Targaryen. He won't be a true dragon.
That's
Sure,
why
Jan.
that's why I wrote, I feel bad for Jon. I'm very
Right.
glad that Jon never met him.
So right after that, Daenerys does get sick. She does vomit, but she keeps it in her mouth and she chews and swallows it back down. And Khal Drogo looks like the happiest man in the world. Because the whole point is for her to keep it down, because that means she has the stallion who mounts the world. She says in perfect Dothraki, because she's been practicing, a prince rides inside me, and he shall be called Rhaego. Which is really touching because it's obviously Rhaego. So Drogo picks her up and they're cheering Rhaego. And Jorah looks and Viserys is gone. So Jorah knows.
Before he looks, he says, she's a true queen today. And I'm like, yeah, because everybody is like praising her and loving her. And it's like her first real vision of what being a queen is like.
This next scene is really interesting because Viserys goes to steal the dragon eggs. Jorah confronts him. Viserys says that one egg will buy a ship, the second egg will buy an army, and then Jorah's like, what about the third? And he's like, I need a big army. I feel like a dragon egg would buy more than a ship, but that's just me. But maybe, show wise, I feel like a dragon egg would buy more than one ship, but that's just me.
Because what's her face steals 3 Farman. She steals 3 of Dreamfire's eggs and gets a ship and also like people to work on it. But I feel like she got more than that. She had 3 eggs.
Yeah, which those are the same eggs.
Yes.
We know they are.
Yes.
Just
and
saying.
then oh no, I know. And then I wrote here, he's not a true dragon if he's stealing dragon eggs and wanting to sell them.
Very true. This is interesting what he says to Jorah. He says, I'm the last hope of a dynasty, Mormont, the greatest dynasty the world has ever seen, on my shoulders since I was 5 years old, and no one has ever given me what they gave to her in that tent. Who can rule without wealth or fear or love? That's sad. That's a moment of truth that we don't get very often from him. And it reflects the immense pressure he has had on him his entire life. And it also reflects that he's never had anybody care for him. And he hasn't.
Well, because he was supposed to do this thing. He was supposed to be king, but really they didn't ever plan for him to be king. So it makes it even worse.
He never, after they left, he never had anyone give a damn about him except for his sister.
And look at the way he treats the person that is his sister.
Yeah. His life turned him bitter and brutal. Was there a chance that he would have been different? Yeah. Because we do see moments that he is. But he lost his father, and then his mother died in childbirth, and then he was, sent around here, there, everywhere. And I don't know how many times they had to leave in the middle of the night because there was an assassin coming and they just found out. I mean, not a good childhood at all. The difference between the two of them early on is that's all Daenerys has ever known. Viserys was old enough to remember what it felt like to have parents that loved him.
Yep.
And no one ever talks about that. So I do think that is a factor. Do I think he's an asshole? Yes. Yes. But he's old enough to remember his dad quizzing him about the dragon skulls and giving him a sweet. And I'm sure he remembers his mother fondly. So that would change a person.
Oh, yeah.
And the pressure. Yep. I think a lot of that just basically broke him. So Viserys was going to leave with the eggs. And I think it's really interesting that Jorah is adamant that he cannot take them.
Jorah swore an oath to him, and he still stands there in his way.
Yeah.
That shows you... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, he swore an oath to Viserys. And we know Jorah feels guilty about letting his father down. So you would think an oath would be very important to Jorah. But he made that decision, Daenerys over Viserys, and he's standing by it.
Yet he's still told, like, I think he's been in love with her since the beginning, but yet he still told Varys that she was pregnant. Knowing that Robert Baratheon would want to kill her. And then he made an oath to, I don't know, this guy is like up and down with his feelings. It's weird.
In the beginning, yeah, he is. More so in the books, I think.
He's creepy.
He's got that, yeah, I was going to say, he's got that creep factor. If you love Jorah, just know that he's different in the books. Very different.
Yeah. Oh, I love him in the show. I just think in the beginning he's wishy-washy.
You know, there's one phrase he says to Viserys, and he sounds so damn cool when he says, "And here I stand." I don't know why, but he just sounds really, really cool when he says that line. It's just like, you should read audiobooks.
Tyrion is going to confess his crimes.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, he tells Mord that he's, Lannister always pays his debt, blah, blah, blah. So I want to confess my crimes. I have gold. I have real gold. So Mord obviously tells the message, and then they bring him up. And I think this is really well acted because he's just talking about how like his first crime was, I think he was 7. He stole a servant girl's robe, and he says she ran crying naked, and he says that when I close my eyes, I can still see her, her boobs. I don't like saying the other word, boobs bouncing.
I know. Yeah.
And then. And then at 9, he filled his uncle's boots with goat shit. I'm assuming that's Sir Kevin.
Oh my
Kevin.
God, I didn't even think about that.
2 uncles, I think. So, and one of them's missing. If you've read the books, one of them's missing.
God.
So it has to be Sir Kevin.
It's Kevin. Oh,
Poor
Kevin, you poor son of a bitch.
And I wrote, no wonder Kevin hates him towards the end.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I love that.
And then at 12, he rubbed the bald man into a turtle stew.
I'm dead.
And he says, I hope my sister ate it.
It's so gross. But
I know,
funny.
he says, I think my sister ate it, or at least I hope she did. And I'm like, I bet she did. Well, those aren't the crimes that Lysa was expecting him to say, or the cat, because he's been accused of killing Jon Arryn and trying to kill Bran. And he's like, well, those aren't the crimes I did. And, I want a trial. I want to prove myself. And Lysa's just like, well, if this happens and you are found guilty, you're going to die. Like, we don't have an executioner in the Vale. We have the moon door. So they show the moon door, and it's really high up. I love the moon door. It's so pretty. And it's a good way to get rid of people, I suppose.
Amen.
And Tyrion demands a trial by combat, which I absolutely love when they have trial by combats, because it's my favorite part of any episode. Even though, the one trial by combat I'm not a fan of, but I still love trial by combats. I think they're very fascinating. And all these men in the room are like, yeah, I'll fight for you, because they think they're going to fight against Tyrion. And Ser Vardis is the only one that doesn't say anything. And she's like, why aren't you going to fight? And he's like, well, I'll gladly fight for you, but he's half my size. So I need to fight somebody else. And Tyrion's like, well, I can have my champion if she can have her champion. So nobody says anything except for Ser Bronn.
It's an interesting fight because you have 2 completely different types of fighters. They couldn't be more different. Because you have Vardis, and he's in like full armor with his helm on, which I'm not quite sure why he went that route, because he can't see as much. And he has like full shield. And Bronn is just, in his regular clothes with a sword.
But that scene is sad. Because I feel bad for Vardis, and I mean, I get that it's trial by combat, but I'll say this. She says that Ser Bronn doesn't fight with honor, and Ser Bronn admits that he doesn't, but I'm like, what does fighting with honor mean? Like, he didn't do any dirty tricks or anything.
That's a very good point. I mean, what does it mean? I know you're a Knight of the Vale, but I mean, you fight to win.
But basically, basically Bronn wins, and then Tyrion gets to go home. That's literally it.
Mm-hmm.
And a Lannister does always pay their debts.
Yeah, so Mord gets his purse.
Shaka Erijishan Han Erijishan Dali.
So there's a short scene, and it's Robert and Renly and Barristan. So Robert, again, is going nostalgia, which we can tell there's two things that he does. He drinks and he remembers things.
Yeah.
So, again, talking about the past, he's talking about making the 8, which means banging a chick from each of the 7 kingdoms plus the Riverlands. Yeah. So he asked Barristan if he ever made the 8, and of course Barristan's like, no. I mean, that's the point. I'm Kingsguard, you fucking idiot. But Barristan's nicer than that. He just says, no, your grace. Now this. Robert says those were the days. Renly makes a really good point. And I think he makes this point because Loras has already got him thinking. Which days exactly? The ones where half of Westeros fought the other half and millions died? Which one do you think he's talking about? Do you think which rebellion?
Robert's Rebellion.
Okay. I didn't know if he was referencing like further back or that rebellion, because that's like throwing Robert's rebellion in his face.
Well, I mean, a lot of people died, and half the realm was against Robert, so it makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it hits pretty hard when you think he's talking about the rebellion that Robert, decided needed to happen. So that's pretty savage for Renly.
Yes.
But then, here's the other one. When he said the Mad King slaughtered women and babies because the voices in his head told him they deserved it, he said that right in front of Barristan Selmy, who is the man that rescued Aerys.
Yep.
Okay, Renly. Jesus. And then, of course, when he says before that, when dragons burned whole cities to the ground, that's obviously a reference to Aemon. Obviously. I'm standing by it.
Well, yes, it could be Aemon, but it could mean any of them because Aemon did it, Maegor did it, Aegon did it.
I know, but to me, I just want to make it Aemon because I'm petty.
Aemon did a lot. He killed a lot of Riverlands people.
I'm just being petty though.
Oh no, you are perfectly fine. But when they say making the 8, they'll say making the 8, but they won't make the Riverlands an 8th kingdom. It's duh.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Makes you want to punch something, like I'm not a violent person. That says something. You want to punch something.
Look, the Riverlands are always screwed. You couldn't pay me to live there. And the Riverlands will always be the bane of Andrea's existence.
They're always in trouble. Like they're always getting hated on, and for some reason they always want to. Well, I get why they were in the dance because they were the first ones to bend the knee to Rhaenyra, but you know what I mean? Like it just is what it is.
Just don't live in the Riverlands.
Just don't live in the Riverlands. Yeah.
It's not a good place to be.
Well, and right after this, they have Ned Stark being the hand of the king sitting on the throne, and their Riverlands are having issues in this scene.
That's why I wanted you to talk about the next scene.
because the mountain, well, somebody looking like the mountain, we all know it was a mountain, burned a lot of land and taken women and children and burning them, and then cutting fish and throwing fish everywhere. I'm like, that place must stink wherever it is.
I mean, so basically, Tywin has the Mountain and his men out there trashing the Riverlands because of what Kat's done with Tyrion. And what's interesting, though, is that Ned tells Beric Dondarrion to take his men and go after the Mountain. And this is actually how the Brotherhood Without Banners begins. Because Beric, he takes an oath for Ned to go after the Mountain and to be just and all that. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
He wants him to be stripped of his lands, his titles, and all this stuff. I thought that was interesting. Pycelle is like, hey, I think that's a little strict. I mean, he's a well-known knight, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, a knight that likes to murder children. You know, the Mountain is not a good guy. He can
No.
say he's a knight, but look what he did to Rhaegar's children and his wife.
Mountain's a monster.
He's a horrible person, and he deserves everything that happens to him. So he has him take 100 men for the king's justice, and it denounces him of his ranks, his titles, lands, holdings, and sentences him to die. And then Tywin is supposed to be summoned to court. If he doesn't come, he'll be branded as the enemy to the crown and a traitor to the realm. And I'm like, oh, Ned. Woo. I mean, I get it.
I get it too, but this is very telling because Littlefinger's like, gold wins wars, not soldiers. Ned says, then why is Robert king and not Tywin Lannister?
That's a great ass point.
The thing is, though, Tywin has a lot of power. He may not be king, but he's calling a lot of shots because, and that's not because, you know, king doesn't mean anything. It's because it's Robert. And Robert has slowly let everything become Lannister.
Yes, everything is Lannister. Every little thing is Lannister. It's disturbing.
Well, and the way they're talking about Tywin, like, you know he's going to be a badass when he shows up. Like, you just know. What do you think about the short scene with Sansa and the Septa when Sansa's so mean?
I don't know why she's mean, but she must, like she was happy in King's Landing, but she must not be that super happy because she's not getting I'm not necessarily the attention that she's used to getting, but like Joffrey isn't paying attention to her, and her wolf is dead, so she's probably just not over that. But I don't like how she treats her Septa because her Septa's not doing anything wrong. But maybe she was also put off by the fact that her Septa had to mention something about her hair. Although I don't like that style. I think it's horrible.
Yeah, I think it's all that. But I think that's a little clue that if all that didn't happen with Kat and Ned stayed hand and Sansa married Joffrey, I think she would end up being Cersei.
Well, maybe. Cersei would have said worse, I think. But yeah.
That's just a little hint of what King's Landing can do.
Yeah, because she wasn't like this in Winterfell. So I think
No.
Because when she gets taken out of it, she's not nearly as bad until season 8. So
Yep. If she had the rest of her life in King's Landing, it would have changed who she was. That's what it does.
Yeah. But when Joffrey comes in, I think this is the best manipulation scene I've ever seen.
Yep.
And he looks really good in that outfit. Goddamn. I'm like, geez, he's dressed so well. And
every scene slays.
I'm probably going to say something about an outfit every time. That's something Daemon would wear. I'm just saying right now.
I agree.
It looks like a Daemon outfit.
It does.
But he basically says, I'm sorry for how I've been, and I won't ever do this again. I won't ever treat you wrong because, you're my lady, and we're going to get married, and you're going to be with me till this day, until my last day. I'm not really saying exactly how he says it. I'm just paraphrasing. But Septa Mordain is sitting there like rolling her eyes.
Yeah, because he is just like
laying it on thick.
Well, I mean, this is Joffrey Riz, basically, and the Septa knows. And Sansa's just got hearts for eyes.
She can't see through it. And so a lot of people get upset with her for this and like believing him.
She's a kid.
But she's a child, and he is believable. The way I have said this in a video before, like a long time ago. I said, I believe him too. Just if I'm sitting here watching him, I believe him too. You think he's going to do the right thing, and he doesn't. He even gives her a necklace that his mom wears.
Which we kind of know Cersei told him to do that.
But oh, yeah. She tells him to do anything.
And he lays it on thick, though. That was his decision.
He even gives her a kiss and everything.
Yeah.
And that's the first and only time we ever see them kiss.
Yeah. He's incredibly manipulative. So, again, King's Landing. You know what? King's Landing turns everybody into their worst version of themselves. Somebody should really just burn it down.
Well,
Joke. Bad joke.
somebody will, and it will be Cersei.
Bad joke. Really bad joke. Because if I don't joke about it, what am I going to do? Dracarys.
All right, so we see Roz is going to King's Landing. It's a very small scene, but I like this scene.
It's a great scene. I call it the cooch scene. Theon's got a thing for her.
He's in love.
Yep. And he's sad she's leaving on a turnip cart.
But she's got a ship, and he's like, wait, how can you afford that? Well, I have I have a lot of people that are more generous than you are, you know? I mean, she didn't say you are, she said some, but she was talking about him because he doesn't pay for it.
Yes. And he's like, let me see it one more time.
And he gives her a coin.
Because she's like, what? She's playing dumb. She's like, I'm not going to let you see this for free. And he flips her a coin. And she's like, here you go. And then she laughs because, I mean, who wins? She does. She got the coin. And she knows he's got a thing for her. I got no hate for Roz. Good for her. Look, Roz knows that Ned was attacked by Jaime. And she knows war is coming. She's not stupid. And also that lets you know how information gets from one place to another pretty fast. Ned goes to see Arya and Sansa and says, y'all need to pack it up. We're going back to Winterfell. Y'all are going now.
And of course, they're upset.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what Sansa says and the realization?
Well, yeah. Well, because Ned says that because she doesn't want to leave because she loves Joffrey, you know, and I'll make you a match with someone that is gentle and strong. And she's like, I don't want somebody that's gentle and strong. I want him. He's a golden lion. And I'll give him sons with golden hair, and I'm just sitting here like golden lion. Okay, if people, because even Arya's like, hey, his sigil is a stag, not a lion. He's not a Lannister. He's a Baratheon. He is in the history books as Joffrey Baratheon. So it's funny that she says golden lion. And Ned realizes, hey, they're bastards. He realizes that. But I just think it's funny that Cersei and Jaime and anybody, Tywin even, like, if you want people to believe that Joffrey and Tommen and Myrcella are Robert Baratheon's children, you do not let them have any Lannister clothing. You don't let them talk about a lion. I mean, his sword in the book is called Lion's Tooth.
Mm-hmm.
He named his sword Lion's Tooth. Why is that? He is not a true Baratheon.
She fans the flames, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Big time.
And I just want to say, now Rhaenyra's children, I don't believe that they're illegitimate in the book. And just because the kids have pug noses, that doesn't prove anything because kids' noses change when they grow up. But anyway, they dress in Targaryen clothing in the show.
They do.
And
good Targaryen clothing.
Yes. So even if they're not Valyrians, they're wearing Targaryen clothing. Cersei should have had them wear Baratheon clothes. I'm just saying.
And you are correct. Everything she does is to emphasize the Lannister. And she gets pretty bold about it. And I agree with you.
That's their biggest
mistake. Yep. Because if you don't want people talking, I mean, it's a weird choice. Because we know, we find out later, the whole damn realm knows the rumor about her and Jaime. Basically.
Oh, yeah. And
I mean, it's not hidden. Like a lot of people know that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Mm. Well, and that's just Lannister pride too.
Yeah.
Funny that, it's called a pride of lions. It's Dothraki party time.
My favorite scene of the whole episode.
It's a lot of people's favorite scene.
Yep.
So, they're very happy. They're in Vase Dothrak, which is their one city. And you are not allowed to have weapons in Vase Dothrak because, the Dothraki fight a lot. And they want it to be a place for purpose and not just a bunch of fighting. Very smart idea, by the way. And so, obviously, everybody's very excited about the Rhaego. And everyone loves Drogo. So, big party. Viserys walks in drunk with his sword. And I noticed it shows Drogo a couple times. And there are like women around him. And it made me realize no scene with Drogo does he ever look at another woman unless he's laughing at his friends with another woman. And he's actually just laughing at his friends. So even in the show, he only has eyes for Daenerys. I had to point it out. I had to.
Robert Baratheon should take some pointers.
Robert Baratheon and Khal Drogo don't have one damn thing in common.
Nope.
Nothing. So he walks in and Viserys announces, I'm here for the feast. The Whore's Feast. What a smart thing to say.
Especially since they have interpreters there. Like, really?
Eerie. Eerie knows the common tongue. So, Drogo's sitting with his blood riders. And he says, Call Ray Mar. Which that is also mentioned in the books. Viserys is called the Sorefoot King because he has to walk. And the Dothraki don't respect a man that doesn't ride a horse. And in the books, if he's not walking, he's in a cart. So they call him the Sorefoot King because, he's walking everywhere. And they're kind of like chuckling at him. And he goes over to Drogo and wants to know where his seat is. And we have Eerie, luckily, translating back and forth. And Drogo says, yeah, there's a place for you back there. And Viserys says, that is no place for a king. And then Drogo says, in the common tongue, you are no king. And it's very shocking because nobody knows this, but it is told in the books. Daenerys is teaching him the common tongue. And just the fact that those 4 words could be that heavy is just badass. And
Really good
Viserys
acting.
is like, yes, it's good acting, so good. So here's a little funny side thing for you. Because, this role of Drogo is so iconic, and he only says about 5 words in the common tongue. Jason Momoa told a story and said that people assumed he didn't speak English after this.
I remember that. Yeah, I was like, oh, poor guy.
Isn't that funny?
It is.
So he got a kick out of it. He gets a kick out of everything. So I can just see him like walking up to people and then like, trying to like talk slow and be like, hello, we like you from Game of Thrones. And him like responding, oh, really? Do you like the Dothraki? Did you like Khal Drogo? And them just being like, what? You speak English? I don't know. I feel like he pranked people with that.
He probably did.
He probably did. So he says, you are no king. And there's a lot of realization in that. He makes a great decision. So he gets his sword out and he starts walking towards Daenerys. And she says, Viserys, please. She tries. And something else that's really interesting is Dorea is right next to her, tries to get in front of her, and Dany pushes her behind her. Even though she's pregnant, she pushes Dorea behind her because her brother has a sword.
And that girl betrays her. Ugh.
Yeah. Not in the books, though. Not in the books.
In the show.
In the show is awful, but not in the books. So right now we're going to pretend like she's booked Araya.
Okay.
Until
it
Karth.
happens.
Yeah, till Karth. Then we hate her. All right. So not only does he have a sword out in Vasothrak where you're not supposed to have a weapon, not only does he have a sword out at the Khaleesi, he has a sword out at her belly. Daenerys never breaks eye contact with Viserys. She never shows 1 ounce of fear. Not a bit. She is not the same little girl that he sold. Viserys says, I want what I paid for. I want the crown he promised me. He bought you, but he never paid for you.
I like that line, even though it's terrible.
Ooh, man. Harry Lloyd does a great job with these lines, too. He really does. And while he's saying this, you hear Eerie translating to Drogo. Then Viserys threatens to take Daenerys back. And he says, he can keep the baby, I'll cut it out of you. And then Eerie tells Drogo that. So, very calmly, for a call, Drogo gets up and he says, I'll give him what he wants. And so then you have Daenerys translating what Drogo says. And it's, I will give him a golden crown and men will tremble when they see it. And for just a moment, Viserys is like relieved, I guess. He's like, well, yeah, that's all I wanted. I just want my crown. And it's like, oh man, you really don't know what's going on. And so Drogo says, seize him and empty that pot. At that point, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I knew something was going to happen. But like the first time seeing that, it's like insane.
Did they break his arm?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought they did.
Yeah, you hear a crack.
I didn't notice that before when I watched it several. Yeah, you just pay attention more when you watch it over and over again.
Exactly. Okay. Yes. And that's why I love that we're doing this, because I'm noticing so much. They break his arm. You hear the crack. They break his arm because they know he's done. And they're holding him, and he is just screeching. He's like, you cannot touch me. I am the dragon. I am the dragon. I want my crown. And he just sounds so bratty. And whiny and bratty and afraid. And Jorah tells Daenerys to look away, and she says no. Again, she's not the same. Well, that's when Viserys screams, Dany, please.
He gets his crown.
Yep. And Drogo says, a crown for a king.
My favorite line.
And it is delivered very well, because Drogo has melted his gold and he pours it on Viserys. And it is a brutal death. It is. But it just shows how clever Drogo is, because you can't take out a weapon. You can't spill blood. He didn't spill any blood.
You know what's interesting? He watches him die. He like sits there and watches him die.
Yeah, because I mean, he's probably never seen somebody die like that, so he's probably kind of fascinated with it. But at the same time, I've always thought that he watched Viserys because that was like, melted gold, and he always claimed to be a dragon. So I always kind of figured that Drogo watched him like, was he really a dragon? Like, kind of like, was he ever any different? Because he looks kind of like, interested in it. Like,
Yeah.
And you have somebody claiming, I'm a dragon, I'm a dragon, I'm a dragon, and then you just melted the guy. So that's probably Drogo being like, huh. Well. And then what he's thinking is what Daenerys says. He was no dragon. Fire cannot kill a dragon. Daenerys has that same look that she has in the tent when she's holding Drogon's egg.
Yep.
And I think that is Daenerys realizing that heat doesn't affect her, but it affected her brother. and she knows she's different.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what I think. Because how would she know? And she would have never asked him. She wouldn't tell him anything. So I think that's a bit of, okay, so you weren't the dragon. And at that point in time, do I think she's saying I'm the dragon? No, I think she's thinking the dragon is in my belly, to me.
I don't think she's ever said I'm the dragon. Has she?
Well, she says I'm the dragon's daughter.
Yeah, but she never says I'm the dragon. Like Viserys, like the way he says it.
Oh, God, like walking around saying I'm the dragon? Hell
No, she's never said
God,
that.
no.
So, no, she's not like that.
No. Mm-mm.
Well, yeah, and like Aegon the First is the dragon. They always call him Aegon the dragon, you know.
Mhm.
But Daenerys, yeah, she never says she's the dragon. So
She's the dragon's daughter. She's the blood of old Valyria, and she's the mother of dragons. And that she knows that's her role because that's what her children are. But Viserys is calling himself a dragon, and like, come on, man, you got drunk and pulled a sword out on your pregnant sister when she's the Khaleesi.
As always, it's Amanda here to say thank you to all of our listeners and to ask that if you like this week's episode, leave us an honest rating. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, please feel free to comment on our post over at our Girls Nerd Out podcast account on Instagram. If you're interested in buying any of our merch to support the podcast and so that we can continue to release weekly episodes, then check it out over at girlsnerdoutpodcast.com. Our podcast logo was designed by Chairman Bilal over on Fiverr. Our podcast merch was put together by me, myself, and I at Southern Mother of Dragons on all social media. If you're interested in my personal merch, check it out at southernmotherofdragons.com. And the designs for that merch were put together by Ryuchi Studios on Etsy after an in-depth back and forth discussion with me to find the perfect merch for me and my loyal supporters. The music played while I tell you about all the ways you can support us and the production of the podcast is Kawaii Girl by Pumpkin Pie. Thanks for listening.
hey, this is Andrea.
And this is Amanda.
And you just listened to
Girls Nerd Out.